The new arrival, the Galactic Academy of Exobiology, was a place where beings from across the galaxy converged to learn about the diverse life forms that inhabited their worlds. It was a prestigious institution, known for its cutting-edge research and the brilliant minds it produced. However, this semester, there was a buzz of excitement that was different from the usual. A new instructor had been appointed, a Deathworlder. Jalia, a Lyran student, couldn't believe her ears when she heard the news. She had read about Deathworlders in her xenobiology classes, beings from planets so dangerous that mere survival was considered a remarkable achievement. The idea of one of them teaching at the academy was both thrilling and terrifying. As she entered the lecture hall, she noticed the air was thick with anticipation. Students from every corner of the galaxy filled the seats, their multicolored skin and various appendages creating a kaleidoscope of life. The room fell silent as the door at the front of the room slid open, and the instructor walked in. He was taller than most beings in the room, with a muscular build that hinted at a life of hardship. His eyes, a piercing shade of green, scanned the room with an intensity that made Jalia shiver. He wore a simple uniform, but it was clear from the way he carried himself that he was no ordinary instructor. "Good morning," he said in a voice that was surprisingly calm and measured. "My name is Commander Alex Reeves, and I will be your instructor for this course on human-companion-animal relationships, or, as most of you might call them, pets." The students exchanged glances. Pets? This was the subject of the class. Jalia had expected something more intense. Commander Reeves seemed to sense their confusion. "I can see some of you are surprised by the topic, but I assure you, there's more to this than you might think. On Earth, the concept of pets is deeply ingrained in our culture. It's a relationship built on trust, loyalty, and understanding, qualities that can be found in the most unlikely of creatures." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Today, we'll start with an introduction to the most common of these creatures, dogs." With a flick of his wrist, the holographic projector came to life, displaying an image of a canine. The students leaned forward, fascinated by the creature that seemed so ordinary. But as Commander Reeves began to explain the bond between humans and dogs, the room was captivated. Jalia found herself drawn to the way he spoke, his voice carrying an underlying warmth that contrasted with his imposing presence. There was something about him that intrigued her, a depth that she wanted to explore. As the lecture continued, Jalia's curiosity grew. She had never considered the idea of a pet, and the thought of forming a bond with another species was both alien and fascinating. But it was more than just the subject matter that held her attention. It was Commander Reeves himself. After the class ended, Jalia lingered, watching as the other students filed out. She hesitated for a moment before approaching the front of the room, where Commander Reeves was gathering his materials. "Excuse me, Commander," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "I wanted to ask, why did you choose to teach this class? It seems unusual." Commander Reeves looked up, meeting her gaze with those intense green eyes. For a moment, he said nothing, as if weighing his words carefully. "I chose this topic because I believe there's something valuable in the relationship between humans and their pets," he finally replied. "It's a bond that transcends species, one that speaks to the very core of what it means to care for another being. And in a galaxy as vast and diverse as ours, understanding that bond can teach us more than we might realize." Jalia nodded, absorbing his words. There was a sincerity in his voice that resonated with her, and she felt a connection forming, a thread of understanding that linked them across the vast differences in their species. "Thank you, Commander," she said softly. "I look forward to learning more." As she turned to leave, she couldn't shake the feeling that this class was going to be more than just an academic exercise. There was something else at play, something that stirred in the depths of her being. A spark that had been ignited by the presence of this Deathworlder. And as the days passed, that spark would grow into a flame, setting off a chain of events that would change her life forever. Bonds forged in trust. Jalia couldn't stop thinking about the first lecture. Commander Reeves' words lingered in her mind, and the concept of pets had taken root in her imagination. She had always viewed animals from a scientific perspective, organisms to be studied and understood. But the idea of forming an emotional bond with one was entirely new to her. The following week, as the students gathered for the second lecture, there was an air of anticipation. Jalia noticed that more students had arrived than last time, drawn by the rumors of the Deathworlder's unique teachings. Commander Reeves didn't disappoint. This time, he brought with him a live specimen, a small furry creature with floppy ears and a wagging tail. The students gasped as the creature trotted around the room, its tail a blur of motion. This, Commander Reeves announced, is a dog, specifically a beagle. His name is Max. Max the beagle sniffed curiously at the various students, eliciting a mix of reactions, some fascinated, others hesitant. When he approached Jalia, she felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. She reached out tentatively, and Max nuzzled her hand, his wet nose tickling her skin. Dogs have been companions to humans for thousands of years, Commander Reeves explained. They've evolved alongside us, and in many ways, they reflect our best qualities: loyalty, bravery, and love. The bond between a human and a dog is one of mutual respect and understanding. Jalia listened intently, her hand still resting on Max's head. She could feel the connection he spoke of, a subtle, unspoken communication that passed between them. It was as if Max could sense her emotions, responding to her touch with a gentle affection that was both comforting and disarming. As the lecture continued, Jalia found herself increasingly drawn to Commander Reeves. There was something about the way he spoke, the way he moved, that captivated her. He was a mystery, a puzzle she wanted to solve. And yet she sensed there was more to him than met the eye. After the class, Jalia approached Commander Reeves once again. This time, she was more confident, emboldened by the experience with Max. "Commander, I was wondering, could you tell me more about your experiences with these animals?" she asked. "It's clear that you have a deep connection with them." Commander Reeves regarded her for a moment, his expression unreadable. "I've had pets my entire life," he said finally. "They've been with me through the good times and the bad. In many ways, they've been my greatest allies." He paused, as if considering how much to reveal. "During my time in the military, there were moments when I thought I wouldn't make it. But knowing that there was someone waiting for me at home, a loyal friend who didn't care about rank or duty, that kept me going." Jalia was struck by the raw emotion in his voice. She could see the depth of his feelings, the way his eyes softened when he spoke of his pets. It was a side of him she hadn't seen before, a vulnerability that made him all the more intriguing. "I never imagined that a bond like that could exist," she admitted. "On Lyron, we don't have pets. The idea of forming such a close relationship with another species is unusual." Commander Reeves smiled faintly. "It's not just about the species," he said. "It's about the connection you form, the trust, the love. It's a bond that transcends biology, a testament to the power of empathy and understanding." Jalia felt a warmth in her chest, a spark of something she couldn't quite define. She realized that she wanted to learn more, not just about pets, but about the man who had introduced her to this new world. Over the next few weeks, Jalia found herself spending more and more time with Commander Reeves. She stayed after class to ask questions, volunteered to help with the live demonstrations, and even started reading about Earth's animals in her spare time. Each interaction deepened her fascination, not just with the subject matter, but with him. There was a connection between them, one that went beyond the academic. It was as if they were drawn to each other, their differences only serving to strengthen the bond that was forming. And yet, there was an unspoken tension, a barrier that neither of them dared to cross. As the final lecture of the semester approached, Jalia couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. The spark that had been ignited on that first day had grown into a flame, and she knew that it was only a matter of time before it consumed them both. But what she didn't know was how deep that fire would burn, and what it would reveal about the man she had come to admire. The unseen threat. The final lecture was different from the others. The usual energy in the room was replaced by a heavy, almost oppressive atmosphere. Jalia couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that there was an undercurrent of tension that she couldn't quite place. Commander Reeves was unusually quiet as he set up for the lecture. The beagle, Max, was nowhere to be seen, and the holographic projector remained off. The students exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Jalia's heart raced as she tried to understand what was happening. Commander Reeves finally spoke, his voice low and serious. Today's lecture is going to be different. We won't be discussing pets or companion animals. Instead, I need to share something with you all, something that could affect the safety of this academy. The students straightened in their seats, the air thick with anticipation. Jalia's mind raced, trying to connect the dots. She had never seen Commander Reeves so tense, so guarded. Whatever he was about to reveal, it was serious. As some of you may know, I was not just a soldier, Reeves continued, his eyes scanning the room. I was part of a special operations unit, tasked with handling threats that most would never even know existed. One of those threats has resurfaced, a rogue faction from a distant system, known as the Krellin Syndicate. They've been involved in illegal experiments, using advanced genetic manipulation to create bioweapons. A murmur rippled through the room, the name Krellin Syndicate sending a chill down Jalia's spine. She had heard of them in passing, a notorious group known for their brutality and disregard for life. But what did this have to do with the academy? They've targeted this institution, Reeves said, his voice cutting through the whispers. Their goal is to capture some of the brightest minds here and force them to work on their experiments. I've received intelligence that they plan to strike within the next few days. The room erupted in gasps and exclamations. Panic began to spread as students grasped the gravity of the situation. Jalia felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. The academy, a place of learning and discovery, was now a potential battlefield. Commander Reeves raised a hand, silencing the chaos. We don't have much time, but we do have a plan. The Academy's security forces are on high alert, and we've set up additional defenses. But we can't do this alone. I need your help. Jalia's heart pounded in her chest. Help. What could she possibly do against a threat like the Krellin Syndicate? But as she looked into Commander Reeves' eyes, she saw something that steeled her resolve. Determination, trust, and a spark of something more. I know this isn't what you signed up for, Reeves said, his voice softer now. But you're some of the most intelligent beings in the galaxy. Together, we can outthink and outmaneuver them. We just need to stay calm and focused. Jalia swallowed hard, her mind racing. She had never been in a situation like this before. Her studies on Lyron had never prepared her for real danger, for the possibility of violence. But she also knew she couldn't just stand by and do nothing. The academy had become her home, and the people here, her friends, needed her. I'll do whatever I can to help, Jalia said, her voice trembling but resolute. Commander Reeves nodded, a flicker of approval in his eyes. Good. We'll need everyone's skills and knowledge to make it through this. I'll be coordinating with the security forces, but I'll need a few of you to assist me directly. Several other students volunteered, their faces a mix of fear and determination. As they gathered around Commander Reeves, Jalia felt a strange sense of camaraderie. Despite their differences in species, background, and experience, they were united by a common goal: to protect their academy and each other. For the next few hours, the students and Commander Reeves worked together, preparing for the worst. They fortified the lecture hall, set up communication links, and devised contingency plans. Every moment was filled with tension, the weight of impending danger pressing down on them. Jalia found herself drawn even closer to Commander Reeves as they worked side by side. She admired his calm under pressure, the way he guided them with confidence and clarity. But beneath that exterior, she could sense the strain he was under, the burden of responsibility that he carried. As the preparations continued, Jalia and Reeves found themselves alone for a moment, checking the final security measures. The silence between them was thick with unspoken words, a tension that had been building since the first day they met. "Commander," Jalia began, hesitating as she searched for the right words. "Why are you doing this? Why risk your life for us?" Reeves looked at her, his expression softening. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. "I spent my life fighting to protect those who can't protect themselves. And because I care about this place, about the people here." There was something in his voice, something that made Jalia's heart skip a beat. She realized, in that moment, that her feelings for him went beyond admiration. She cared about him, deeply, more than she had ever cared about anyone before. "Jalia," Reeves said quietly, taking a step closer. "I need you to know that whatever happens, you've made a difference here. You show me a side of myself that I thought I'd lost. I won't let anything happen to you. I promise." Her breath caught in her throat as she looked up at him, the intensity of his gaze pulling her in. The distance between them seemed to vanish, and for a brief moment, the world outside the lecture hall disappeared. But the moment was shattered by the sound of an alarm blaring through the academy. The Krellin Syndicate had arrived. The final stand. The academy descended into chaos as the alarms echoed through the halls. Students and faculty members scrambled to their designated positions, the fear palpable in the air. Jalia's heart raced as she followed Commander Reeves, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. They reached the central command room, where a team of security personnel was monitoring the situation. The Krellin Syndicate's ships had breached the Academy's defenses, and their troops were closing in fast. "We need to hold them off until reinforcements arrive," Commander Reeves said, his voice calm and authoritative. "Jalia, I need you to stay here and coordinate with the other teams. You're the only one I trust to keep things running smoothly." Jalia nodded, her stomach twisting with nerves. She had never been in a situation like this before, but she knew she had to stay strong. The lives of everyone in the academy depended on it. As Commander Reeves headed out to lead the defense, Jalia focused on her task, directing the other students and security personnel. The situation was dire, but she refused to let fear overwhelm her. She had to believe that they could make it through this. The battle outside raged on, the sound of blaster fire and explosions reverberating through the academy. Jalia's hands trembled as she relayed orders, trying to keep her mind focused on the task at hand. But her thoughts kept drifting to Commander Reeves, out there on the front lines, risking his life for them all. Hours passed, though it felt like an eternity. The Krellin Syndicate was relentless, their forces overwhelming. Jalia could hear the tension in the voices of those she communicated with, could feel the fear creeping into her own heart. But she pushed it down, clinging to the hope that they could still turn the tide. And then the unthinkable happened. A transmission came through from one of the forward positions, a desperate, panicked voice reporting that the Syndicate had breached the Academy's inner defenses. They were inside. Jalia's blood ran cold. The command room was one of their last strongholds. If the Syndicate reached them, it would be over. She quickly relayed the information to Commander Reeves, her voice shaking. "They're inside, Commander. We can't hold them off much longer." There was a brief pause on the other end before Reeves responded. "I'm on my way back. Hold your position, Jalia. We're not done yet." Jalia nodded, even though he couldn't see her. She knew he would come for them, that he would do everything in his power to protect them. But as the sound of footsteps echoed down the corridor outside the command room, she realized that time was running out. The doors to the command room burst open, and Krellin soldiers poured in, their weapons raised. The security personnel in the room opened fire, but they were quickly overwhelmed. Jelia's heart pounded as she ducked behind a console, desperately searching for a way out. But there was no escape. The Syndicate soldiers were closing in, their cold, emotionless eyes locked on her. Jelia's mind raced, trying to think of something, anything, that could save them. And then, just as the soldiers raised their weapons, a figure appeared in the doorway. Commander Reeves, his blaster in hand, eyes blazing with determination. "Get away from her," he roared, unleashing a volley of blaster fire that sent the Syndicate soldiers scattering. Jalia's heart leaped as she watched him fight, his movements swift and precise, every shot finding its mark. But there were too many of them, and she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the strain of the battle wearing him down. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, a deafening roar filled the room. The walls shook as something massive crashed through the ceiling, sending debris flying. Jalia shielded her eyes, her ears ringing from the noise. When she looked up, she saw the last thing she expected. Max, the beagle, but now towering over the room, having transformed into a massive, armored beast. His eyes glowed with a fierce light as he charged at the Syndicate soldiers, his jaws snapping with a ferocity that sent them fleeing in terror. Jalia's breath caught in her throat as she watched Max tear through the enemy forces, his once gentle nature now replaced with a primal protective rage. She had never seen anything like it. Max had transformed into a force of nature, a weapon of unimaginable power. With Max's help, Commander Reeves quickly gained the upper hand, driving the Syndicate soldiers back. The room was soon cleared, the last of the attackers either dead or fleeing for their lives. As the dust settled, Jalia slowly got to her feet, her legs trembling beneath her. She couldn't believe what she had just witnessed. Max, her sweet, innocent pet, had saved them all. Commander Reeves approached her, his expression a mix of relief and amazement. "Jalia, I think we just discovered why humans keep pets." She looked up at him, her eyes wide with shock. I don't understand. How?" Reeves shook his head, a faint smile on his lips. "It's not just about companionship. There's something more. A bond, a connection that goes beyond anything we can explain. Max wasn't just protecting you. He was protecting all of us." Jalia stared at Max, who had returned to his normal size, panting heavily, but otherwise unharmed. She knelt down beside him, her hand trembling as she reached out to touch his fur. Max licked her hand, his tail wagging, as if nothing had happened. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized just how much she had underestimated him. Max wasn't just a pet. He was a guardian, a protector, and a friend. Commander Reeves placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch warm and reassuring. "We'll figure this out together, Jolia. But for now, just know that you're safe. We're all safe, thanks to you and Max." She looked up at him, her heart swelling with gratitude and something more. "Thank you, Commander, for everything." He smiled, his eyes softening. "Call me Daniel." And in that moment, as the chaos of the battle faded away, Jalia knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she wouldn't face them alone. She had found something here, something worth fighting for: friendship, love, and the strength to face whatever the galaxy threw at them. As they stood together, the bond between them growing stronger with each passing second, Jalia realized that she had finally found her place in the universe. And it was right here, with Daniel, Max, and the Academy she had come to call home.